I'm going to channel a message from Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is a representative of the divine masculine. He is the counterpart to goddess Kali Ma, and he is also known for his warrior-like qualities in the face of fear and his ability to transcend the ego. The reason he has stepped forward today is because I asked for a guide who would be willing to share somewhat of an extended message when it comes to the times we are living in, and some of the more recent messages I have channeled that you can find on my list of videos. One is from Kali Ma, energetic update for the month of September 2021, where she talks about the need to let go of fear as we move through these next ascension waves through the rest of the year. And the last video I made was about losing a loved one and some of the experiences I've had in my life with people that I have lost who really have struggled in their final days to take their power back and really overcome their limiting views of who they are and what they are capable of. So I'm going to bring Lord Shiva forth right now and see what he would like to share today about this topic, about breaking free of the ego and any other insights he might have or advice he might have for us moving forward as the chaos and fear increases to or continues to increase on our planet. So feel free to invite Lord Shiva in if you would like to feel or practice sensing his energy. I'm going to call him in now to step in a little bit closer because he's already here. And he definitely comes in with a little bit of a softer energy than Kali Ma did. He feels very peaceful at the moment. So I'm just going to let him start speaking about whatever it is he would like to share on that subject. He's talking about fear and highlighting that word. He's saying, ah yes, fear. Isn't this the bane of all existence? Isn't this the reason why so many people feel trapped in victimhood, in victim consciousness, and unable to move freely about, living true to the desires that come up within, living true to their heart's desires? Fear is what holds one victim to oneself. It is important to view fear as not an external movement or energy, but something that is created internally or produced internally through one's own thoughts, beliefs, and the paradigms that one chooses to buy into, the belief systems that one has been led to believe are true, when in reality they are false, or a false perception of what true reality is. True reality is created through one's own ability to recognize truth within. What feels good in one's heart is what is true for that person in any given moment, he's saying. So the first step to overcoming fear is to be able to recognize the difference between what is fear-based and what is truth-based, what is heart-based. How does one begin to do that? One begins to do that by, first of all, being able to quiet one's mind, being able to step back from one's mind and seeing the mind as a player. He's saying, like, the role, he's saying, one gives to the mind is relative to how much freedom one will experience in their lifetime, how much joy one will have the opportunity to share in or share with others. Because the mind is limited in its ability to see, he's saying, what is true and what is false. The mind is programmed based on the reality that it consciously chooses or unconsciously chooses since the beginning of life. So when the ego becomes trapped in a victimhood mentality where the world around it is viewed as dangerous and in control of, and he's talking about circumstances, how we perceive outside or external circumstances dictating how we must live or suffer at the hand of an outside force. He's saying when we buy into the belief that we must suffer at the hands of another, that we do not have the power to change or shift our awareness or reality, then we become trapped in that lower dimensional frequency. And he's saying, and this is just simply how it is. This is just simply how this dimension or reality or plane of existence was created to be. There is polarization. There is negative and there is positive, and there is everything in between, all experiences in between. And so, depending on how much a person has attached their feeling of or given their power, that's what he's saying. I heard sovereignty, but it's coming in now. Have given their sovereignty or their power or their right to choose a way to another, they are allowing another or an outside set of circumstances choose for them the path that they are on, the story that they are playing out, rather than taking control over the matter, mind over matter, he's highlighting, and learning how to program or use the mind as a tool to create what one desires. So how does one begin to do that? How does one begin to find that place of sovereignty within, of power within, when one is given life circumstances that appear to set one up for failure? Well, one must first be willing to look at oneself, look in the mirror, he's saying, to see what is really truly there, to allow yourself to view yourself from a higher perspective, one that can see with clarity where the suffering is, where the pain lies within, where the mind may be distorting the picture that is in front of you. If one can learn how to see oneself as one truly is, one will then begin to understand the changes that are necessary to move in a direction that is more effortless, he's saying. Because suffering takes effort. Suffering takes energy, more energy to maintain than to let go. And when one can begin to recognize this, one can begin to see the areas or changes in one's life or the areas where changes need to be made, or adjustments, he's saying, need to be made to one's ego or mind. For one has control over their thoughts. What they choose to attach to, he's clarifying. Which thoughts you choose to give attention to or energy to are the thoughts that will continue to grow stronger because you're feeding them. When you feed an animal or a person, they grow bigger, they grow stronger in this sense. And it's the same with energy. The more attention you give to something, the stronger the relationship becomes, the stronger the attachment becomes. He's saying, feed any animal and watch this attachment between that animal and you grow stronger, because that animal will continue to come back to you for more food, for more life. You are a life-giving force in that sense, and you are giving your thoughts life by giving them attention. So he's showing learning to redirect your attention away from thoughts that do not serve your highest good. What does that mean? He's saying it means if it isn't giving you back more than what you are giving you back, and if it's not giving you back in return, he's saying what you are giving it, the energy that you are extending towards it, but it is taking from you your life force, if it is draining of your life force, if it is restricting the flow of your life force, then how can it be good for you? How could it be, in truth, be positive? It's that simple, he's saying, but not always so clear or simple to see, because we learn to over-identify with our thoughts, believing that because we had the thought, it is true. And he's saying that's just simply not the case. Having the thought is having the thought. It's our power to believe it or not believe it that makes it true or not true, that gives it power or not. So our power comes from our ability to choose what we believe in. Now, where does that lead us? What thoughts do we choose? He's taking it back to the heart, going back to the being what it means to be heart-centered. He's saying your heart is always connected to truth. Your heart is a bio-living organism or biomechanism that is programmed through its inception or its organic inception as connected to, is the primary center where we are connected to source energy, where we are connected to our higher selves. It's our truth center, he's basically saying. It's our biofeedback mechanism, is what he's saying. I was getting this download coming in, and maybe it was coming in pieces, and now it's making more sense. It's our biofeedback mechanism that is our truth center. It will tell us what is true and what is false. But if we tune it out, or if we have been programmed to tune it out, it becomes harder to hear what it is saying, essentially, or read clearly and accurately the messages that it is picking up on. Because we have essentially trained our minds and awareness to tune out this center. And he's also saying in many instances, we've closed off this center. He's showing the heart chakra, that there are many layers and dimensions and levels of opening up our hearts to receiving and being able to pick up on energy. And our hearts are the center of truth and the center of what the tool, or not tools, but what essentially we use for discernment when it comes to judging or our judgment and our perception of what is good for us, what is healthy for us. I mean, there are other mechanisms in the body. It's not just the heart, he's saying, but just living heart-based is living from a state of love, to keep it simple, and not fear. So always moving towards love. What gives you the feeling of love? What gives you the feeling of, and he's saying true love. Now, I feel him referring to instances where we might move towards something because it feels good in the moment, but it's a temporary satisfaction. So he's wanting you to be able to recognize the difference between what is temporary and what is long-lasting. And he's referring back to what he said about, does it give you energy in the long term, or does it drain your life force? Does it increase your life force and increase your vitality and feeling of vibrancy? And essentially you can look at your body as a very good symbol of that, of where you're at energetically, because what your energy levels are, the invisible realm of your energy levels are going to show up in the physical realm of your body. So if your body is in a vibrant state and healthy state, or you are feeling joyful, feeling alive, having energy to give love, having love to give, and having a feeling of that love being free-flowing, then you are in a state, in a higher state, in a higher capacity to receive the true messages that are coming through. Okay, so I just have one question, and it's about how can we, if we feel like we're getting stuck, or we see ourselves getting stuck in a victim conscious mode, what can we do to shift out of that? Do you have any advice for us, specific advice for those of us who might be struggling or just feeling like we're in a place where we're stuck. He's saying, yes, dear ones, this place of being stuck, this feeling of being stuck is a resistance to let go, to shift or go with the flow of change, of where the flow of change wants to take you. So there's a fear holding you back. Resistance is fear-based in the sense that you're holding back out of an uncertainty of what that change is going to feel like or be like. It's like the feeling of not being willing to go into the unknown because it's new territory and it's not something that's familiar. You tend to hold on to what is comfortable. So there is, even in the body, resistance to change. There is that feeling of resistance that shows up in our body when we are attempting to make new changes. And then there's the mind, the resistance that comes through the mind, through the skepticism or the doubt or the fear or the insecurity of moving into the unknown. Essentially, moving out of one's comfort zone requires moving into the unknown. He's showing that moving into higher states of consciousness where one has not lived, if you're moving up, essentially evolving into new states and new ways of being and expanding and evolving into those states, you're moving into states that are new to you, unfamiliar to you. So learning to trust your own wisdom, your own intuitive guidance. So knowing and being willing to listen to your intuition is basically what he's showing. He's saying that you will be intuitively guided to make changes that are in your best interest. You intuitively know, people intuitively know what is best for them, what is working for them and what is not working for them in any given moment. It's a level of higher awareness. It's just a feeling of being in alignment or out of alignment with your higher self. You're either feeling really good about the choices you're making, or you're having this feeling of, yeah, that went okay, but maybe is that really what I want? There's a hesitancy there to fully give it your all, because there's a feeling of maybe that's not what you actually want. So he's just showing to tap in, being willing to tap into the different layers of wisdom that comes from developing your intuition, listening to your higher awareness, what you're able to perceive by taking a step back is essentially what he's coming back to. When you can take a step back, and you can look at things from a non-judgmental perspective, an unattached perspective, it's unlimited in scope of what you're able to see. You are able to see with a wider lens what is working and what is not working. And oftentimes you will already recognize that you're being drawn to do something, do more of something or less of something. There's a pull to do more of something or less of something coming from your heart's desire. So again, listening to your heart and becoming conscious of what your heart is saying is very important in these times, because he's showing that we are moving into, going back to his original, what he was saying in the beginning, a heart-based way of living. And he's saying this is foreign territory to us. This is why he's seeing that I'm having a little bit of difficulty even kind of sharing this message or translating this message sometimes, because in my ego is kind of trying to grasp the concept, but he's showing it's a lot more simpler in the ways that the mind is trying to comprehend than what I'm actually able to express in my words. It's more simpler than that. It's a more simpler concept, following your heart, following your intuition. But we've been so tuned to listening to our mind and our ego and letting our ego lead that we have really sort of lost connection with even what it is our heart truly desires. So there's a inability to even hear our heart clearly and accurately. But again, he's stressing that you will know when you are listening to your heart because you will feel in alignment. It will feel like all circuits are connecting, like you will feel empowered. Empowered is the feeling. You will feel empowered in a positive way. And it will give you energy and give you life force, and it will kind of like turn that switch on where you feel just that natural drive or a zest or excitement to do something. And that's not to say that you won't have any anxiety or nervous feelings around it, because again, he's showing that we are stepping into new territories, foreign territories, living heart-based. There is, there's a little bit of a hesitancy to be vulnerable. It's a new way of living for most of us, because we've been trained to kind of always listen to our minds and make choices that are rational and make sense. And sometimes the heart is just the feeling is like not leading from that place, not always taking into account all the facts and figures, but just kind of going with the flow, living in the moment, going with the flow, and just going in the direction of joy. He's saying, follow your bliss. These are things that are sayings that are really truly encapsulate like what it means to live from the heart. And he's saying it is a foreign concept for many, so it is going to take time and practice to develop the discernment and the awareness that is required to know when you are in that, living from that place. But you will know the difference when you have experienced it. So it's through your experience of it that you will learn to attune to that frequency, the difference, and then you will become more able to see the difference of being in that higher frequency state where you're tuned to your heart, or you're living in attunement with your heart, versus that lower vibrational state where you are allowing fear or fear-based thoughts to limit your mobility and essentially your freedom to express yourself, to express your truth that comes from the heart. That is your authenticity and what your soul essentially came to ideally experience in this lifetime. So with that, I feel like I got the message out. There was a lot of moments where I kind of did get a little bit stuck on how to explain what was coming through. I feel a lot clairsentiently sometimes in his message, and also, but I also can see how my mind is struggling to pick up on even what that means. It's like I want to understand it analytically, and it is kind of moving into a feeling-based mode. So interesting how that contrast even showed up in this message as it was coming through, because it's making me more aware of just how tricky it is to navigate that path, especially for those of us who are not able to drop into our hearts very easily, or who have built up a lot of guards or walls or barriers to allowing people to see who we are even. So something to think about, and I'm already thinking that there will probably be more videos to come on this topic to expand a little bit more as we go and as we are all learning together. But I would like to thank Lord Shiva for stepping forward and sharing that message with us. I hope it was helpful for you guys in some way, and if it was, please leave a comment below as to what resonated for you in this message. And don't forget to like the video, and please do subscribe to my channel for more information and messages like this. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye.